You and I are going to have a long chat after this. And that can stay in. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Rolling to Ragnarok's The Meridian Chronicles. This is the circle of Ichor and blah blah. The circle of ink and Ichor. This is fun. This is fun. Everything's fine. I'd like to welcome our new members for this circle. Hi. But we're gonna dive right in because that's what we do around here. I don't do any messy chatting.
Oh, well.
It's late on this rain-swept night in New Brexin City. Amid the smoke-choked networks of elevated alleyways of the Black Mire. Excuse me. A pair of shoes splashed through a puddle, walking with an unnatural gait, as if its owner is not bound to gravity or the laws of the world. Another splash as the first pair of shoes is followed by another in hot pursuit. The second pair cannot tonight. Words are going to be hard. The second pair belongs to a hard-nosed detective holding a flashlight in one hand and a revolver in the other. He stops to catch his breath, get his bearings, peer out from under his hat as sheets of rain make it hard to see anything. A distant shadow turns down an alleyway, and he's on his mark again. As he trails the distant figure, their shadow seems just one corner ahead at all times. Is he running in circles? Instead of following, he decides to climb stairs, leaping from a fire exit above an alleyway. He touches down on the other side on the building and sees the shadow vanish into the darkness. The detective called out, "Andres, I don't want to hurt you. Mick just wants to know that you're all right." In a sentence that sounds strung together from a dozen, hundreds of separate voices, something speaks. Designs interrupted. But you will be useful in the future. Something behind the detective blots out the streetlight. A gunshot rings out, the flash of a muzzle, and this wet squelch. The detective's hand falls to the ground, just at the edge of inky darkness. Within moments, spiders swarm out of every nook and cover the body. As the rain continues to pour, this emptiness falls to silence, and we pull back from the city of New Brexton, overlooking it, and we see the lights from the main areas, like the cathedral or the courthouses. Everything's lit up and beautiful at night, even in the rain, because the light is what keeps you safe here in New Brexton. And as we pull back in onto the city, we find Quinn. And what is Quinn doing tonight?
Quinn is, like many nights, on going to the gym. They spend most nights going to a kickboxing gym. And I should say many nights outside the ones where they are preoccupied with other research endeavors. You see them walking down the street. They have kind of a knockoff Letterman jacket It doesn't look like one from a high school, but something you'd get at a vintage store. Um, and they have their gym duffel slung over their shoulder, making their way towards their regular workout class.
As you're approaching the gym, you see this very stocky elderly woman. She can't be any more than 5 foot tall. She's standing outside of the gym with her very long cigarette holder. And it doesn't look like the rain has touched her at all, even though she doesn't have an umbrella. And she looks up at Quinn as she takes a moment, and she's never taken a draw off of it. It's just burning. Hello, darling. I hear you've been into a little bit of trouble, and I'm here to invite you to join us. And she holds up a letter. We may be able to help you with the answers you seek.
Quinn looks around. Do I know you?
No, most people just call me Madam.
What what answers do you think I'm looking for?
The ones to the great mysteries, of course. Why people go missing.
Eyebrow
What
cocks at that.
what what goes bump in the night? All the great mysteries of life of those who don't believe in. And she kind of gestures towards the lights in the area, but doesn't elaborate.
Again, Quinn looks around, grabs the letter from this woman, looks at her and goes, "If I have more questions, how do I find you, madam?"
Oh, I don't have the answers, but the lady who has sent you that will have the, well, she'll have most of the answers.
Kind of kind of rub my hands absent-mindedly over the seal of the envelope. I'm not opening it right now. Not in front of this woman if it didn't come from her. Um, I look at her and I say, "Good to know I need to change my tactics. It seems I'm a little too easy to find."
Ah, well, darling, you won't be the first one we found stumbling in the dark.
Fair enough. Stay dry. And I go to walk inside.
She kind of waves. I wish you luck as she walks down the street, and never once does a raindrop fall on her perfectly styled hair, on her very old style blue dress. She's just her and her cigarette walking down the street.
I would like to, in as private of an area as I can find in this gym,
Mhm.
um, and even in that space, I might, put this envelope into my bag and look like I'm rifling through my bag as I read it. Um, but I'd like to open up the envelope and read its contents.
The envelope does has have this beautiful emerald green seal on it, and when you break it, it kind of has the smell of peppermint, which seems odd to add to wax for letters. But inside the letter, it is beautifully written in this calligraphy across the top of it, and it says Candela Obscura. The letter says, I hope this finds you well. Uh, we've noticed your endeavors of seeking out the truth on matters very private and dear to the heart. We don't know that we have all of the answers, but we would like to assist in your journey and hire your skills on as a sort of trade. Below it is an address, and it is signed RS.
I think Quinn is going to kind of hurriedly put that away because it seems like it's something that shouldn't be advertised. Um, they go about their workout as much as possible in a normal manner. Their mind clearly preoccupied, so throughout their class none of their punches or their hits or their kicks really land correctly or land fully because it's almost as though they're having an out of body experience throughout this whole thing, watching themselves from above while they contemplate the contents of this letter and what that means for everything they've been looking for. And then I think as soon as they're able to, they're gonna leave. And when they head home, they're gonna take the long way, and at the bare minimum, try and get a look at this place that they've been sent to. Um, if not, go in. But that's what they do.
Um, the address that you're sent to is not a place, like a building or a restaurant or anything. You're sent to what is a crime scene. And we will get back to that. We're going to check in with Emily. What is Emily doing on this rainy evening?
Emily is where she spends most of her evenings, which is to say, she is at home. She has a small, extremely cheap one-room apartment, and she doesn't go out very much. Well, she doesn't go out very much with people. She has been known to go out and spend her time on the streets looking for things.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight, she is at home. Her apartment, again, is very small. It's like a kind of half-made bed, a very rickety desk with a broken typewriter at which she is sitting and attempting with some difficulty to type out some thoughts for some article of some kind. And she is sort of vacillating between being lost in thought and cursing at the typewriter.
As one does. You hear this soft ticking against the glass of your apartment. And it's just tick, tick, tick. Kind of like a fingernail on glass or maybe a bird's beak.
I immediately stop what I'm doing and kind of look over and just wait.
And it's more ticking, a little more frantically, which is odd because, animals aren't typically out both at night and in the rain.
Yeah. I get up And I walk over to the window very carefully, and I try to see what's making the sound.
The black bird that is tapping at your window with his beak seems very impatient at the fact that he's still in the rain.
I will hesitate for only a second before I flick the catch and open the window and let the bird inside.
He hops in on the ledge, and as he's doing this little shake off dance of shaking the rain off of his feathers, he routinely kind of sticks a leg out. And you've heard about people using birds to deliver messages, especially in your research. And this bird has a little rolled up paper tied to his leg.
I'm gonna very gently and slowly kind of reach towards the bird and go, "Hey, can I take that?" And sort of try to take it from him.
He very dramatically stretches his leg out as if you were just taking far too long.
Okay.
Very
You never be too
personal.
careful.
He is a
And
very
I'll take it.
personality bird, yes.
Immediately she starts looking around for like crumbs or something, but doesn't have any bird seed. It's like, I got nothing, buddy. Sorry.
He
But she's got the letter.
he looks disappointed, but he's waiting for the rain to pass, or at least to dry off enough that he's going to decide to fly back out. Your little piece of paper says it's just a little torn piece of paper that's been folded in half and tied. It says, "We would like to invite you to further investigate the things happening around us." And there is an address on the other side of it.
Huh. All right. Well, looks at the window at the pouring rain. The bird. You and me both. And is gonna start getting like her coat. And I don't think she has an umbrella, but she'll get whatever sort of overcoat she has and stick some stuff in her pockets. And she will, before leaving, shoo the bird out so she can close the window, but she lets it stay until she's ready to go. And then she will close the window and leave and head out to go to this address.
You two find yourself at a crime scene, shockingly, when you get to the address on your piece of paper. Where is Elizabeth tonight?
On a rainy night like this, I think Elizabeth, too, is spending it at home, nuzzled up in a seat right in a window on the second story of her home, nose deep in some text that wasn't good enough for any scientific peer review and full of what some would call hokey. But definitely reading by the window with a candle by her side to keep some light.
There is a knock at the door, and you hear through it. It is the gentleman, your gentleman butler of the house, and he kind of speaks in this very old, kindly Alfred tone, where he seems kind, but if he had to get in a fight, he would hurt somebody. And he smiles as he says, "You have a visitor, miss."
I'll lower the book, grab the candle, and just call down, "Just a moment, dearie, I'll be right over," before sliding on some slippers and heading down the stairs, through the sitting room and over to the front door to see what's going on.
You see this old woman. She's got this very large nose that is comically too big for her face. Her hair is done up in one of those very school teacher-esque buns on top of her head, and she's standing in front of your doorway, looking out at the rainy night as if it is very beautiful, as if she's watching a sunset. Ah, I always did like the rain. Ah, dear, there you are. Thank you. Good timing. And she's ruffling through this bag, which she doesn't seem like she needs to be doing because she never looks down, and pulls out a letter and holds it up to you.
"Oh, they sent you all the way in the rain just to pass this along," and I'll gently take it from her.
I enjoy my long strolls in the rain. Reminds me of my husband. He was a wet rag too.
"Well, may you enjoy the rest of this night and have a wonderful stroll off to wherever you head to next."
She kind of looks thoughtful. Maybe I'll stop by the piers. She won't stop by the piers. But your letter is it seems very personalized to your lifestyle. There is gold lettering of your name on it. There's a little design drawn in all of the corners. Even the gold stamp on it has green ink inlaid in it.
And I'll turn and head over to the study, find the letter opener, and go through, open it up, and just take a read.
Mm-hmm. The letter header has a gold stamp on the top of it. This is Candela Obscura. And it starts out very beautifully written for the introduction, where it says, "Hello and good evening. I apologize for calling on you at such a late hour. We would like to request your particular brand of special skills in an investigation of ours. There is an address to somewhere in the Black Mire, and you probably never step foot there in your entire life. This place is built underneath where you live. And it's a little odd that somebody with such beautiful stationery would want anyone to go there. But there is an address, and the woman you were just speaking with has kind of vanished into the darkness of the night.
Well, that's odd, but from what I hear, that's Candela's specialty. And I'll turn and start gathering a few things. put on a nice dress with a trench coat over top, black high collar, trailing down to just above the ankle. Grab my umbrella and head down the street. Before I leave, I'll turn to my butler and just say, "Don't wait up. It might be quite a while."
I will have a hot coffee ready for you in the morning, dear.
Thank you very much. And I'll turn and walk down the street.
As you approach the mire, you start to understand why it's referred to as the mire and not called by many just by its title. It is the poor part of town. Their houses are built upon each other. It is stacked with houses and apartments, and it smells of soot, and it smells of if depression had a smell.
Oh.
It would smell like that here.
Seattle.
This is the place most of the city tends to want to forget exists. But as you make your way through, you approach this cluster of people, and most of them have an officer's badge. And you start to realize that this is a crime scene that you've been called to. But where is Raphael?
So, on some very dimly lit street corner in the rain, Raphael's kind of standing there holding a coffee cup. He's got all of the like one of those like duster raincoats on. He's got like the hood all the way up. He's kind of like keeping to himself, and he's looking around. And he's just, God, I can't believe I have to come all the way out here. But he normally gets me all this good stuff. He's waiting to meet a guy that normally he buys a bunch of stuff from the occultism, but this time his friend has requested that he, instead of pay him in money, trade him a whole bunch of books about King Arthur and all these other things. And he doesn't know why all of a sudden this guy wants him to trade him all these things, but he's got a whole stack of different books from his classroom that frankly are probably way below the reading level he assumed this gentleman was. And so he's just got this stack of books with him. He knows that he's here to, make this trade. But also, normally he just comes to him. Raphael doesn't know why he has to be on this dumb street corner. This isn't a drug deal. This isn't some kind of weird thing. But yet, that's where we are. Waiting for his friend to show up to trade some occultism stuff for books.
As you're standing there waiting, you hear this voice from, well, yes, down below you, because she's barely 5 foot tall. What's in the bag?
Ah. Oh. I never see you coming. Ever. But I will say it's a whole bunch of books,
Are those for Baron?
Yes. Did he send you? Why are you doing his stuff now?
I'm not. I'm here to tell you you've been requested.
There are no amount of words for how excited Raphael gets. He would grab her shoulders if she'd even let him. and like lift her up to like eye line with him, and be like, "It is finally. You cannot tell me this is not the day, yes?" And like shake her.
It's the day. Today is the day.
If like he would toss her like a baby, just up, catch, do a little spin in the rain with her.
She is very upset
Yep.
in the manner of, this is very unprofessional, and
Oh, Grams.
but
When have I been professional with you? He puts her down and he goes, and he like puts her down, gets eye level with her, and it's just like, this is the greatest day of my life, I tell you what.
she kind of she's looking at you, and she just, I have never met anyone excited to do this, but I am late to book club. I will take those books since apparently he is also late, which is quite shocking.
Baron is always late, you know this. And he
Not
hands her
for this.
a giant stack of books that are all like the Once and Future King, the Winter King, like all of the different like things. And he would look her dead in the eyes and goes, "I get a letter, yes?"
She reaches into her bag and pulls up a letter.
Yep. Takes it. As he takes it, wherever her little cigarette is, he would let it like just glide across the tip so that it like sizzles the thing, snaps it off the front, and he's like, "Grams, I love you. Okay, go." And turn around and start reading the letter, and just start walking towards whatever the address is.
This very old lady is carrying these books. She is very happy to carry these books.
Oh yeah. He's not thinking about the books anymore. This is all he's ever wanted.
You do hear her shout back, "Be careful, dear."
It is my middle name. It's why I don't use it.
It is not your middle name. You arrive at this crime scene. And you do notice there are a handful of people who haven't quite approached yet. You do recognize one of the light keepers from Candela is standing with the OUP officer nearby. And there's this moment of reality setting in that this is probably going to be all of yours lives for the foreseeable future. Is a crime scene that you have no idea what has happened or how in this short amount of time you were picked and called here. This woman in her very I think Mary Poppins-esque dress with a top hat that rests on top of her head approaches you, and she smiles. "It is so nice to see you all, and I do apologize for such short notice. Normally, we would meet somewhere else. I do have a place for you to return to when this is all done to relay your information to me and for us to make sure you're prepared for the future. My name is Raisa." And she reaches and she holds out a little business card to all of you. But on this business card, it has another address. And Emily, you recognize this address.
I just kind of look at it and I look at her and kind of.
You recognize it as the archives of the New Brexin Gazette.
The archives?
Well, I thought maybe it would be a safer place and something familiar to discuss. There's typically nobody there that I've seen.
True. Sure, I guess, and I'll pocket the card. Good as any place.
She gestures towards the officer she was just talking to. Officer Rowe here has decided we are better suited for this particular investigation than the OUP are. And I would like to warn you, it is very odd. Excuse me.
What's OUP
We
stand
would.
for?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I didn't mean. I tried to wait for the break. I'm sorry. What's OUP stand for?
OUP is. Let me find it because I don't remember off the top of my head.
Sorry.
I had the same question, so thank you for asking.
I want to know why it's not written in my notes because that sucks.
Did I take those notes?
Did you take those notes? I don't think you took those notes. Let me find my book.
My notes are notoriously ridiculous.
It has been a week and most of my notes didn't get done like they should have. There's the periphery. Good thing I have the handy dandy book right here.
Mm-hmm.
Work with me here. Do I not have a sticky note on where it is? There it is.
And then can you just... Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
The OUP is the Office of Unexplained Phenomena. What were you gonna say?
Do you mind just reminding me the woman's name that we just got?
You just met Raisa, your lightkeeper.
Race. Yes, Raisa.
And Officer Rowe.
Yes, and Officer Rowe. She is the RS of the RS that signed your letter. Raphael, you do know that the OUP kind of does what Candela does. Just very effectively, actually. They do their job in a more bureaucratic manner than Candela does. Candela's is more based in occultism and a free form gather the information how you need it done. Whereas the OUP has many bylaws and rules that they have to follow.
Raphael would have just so many horribly I mean, he would just feel so many different ways about how they're not worth the time and all that other stuff because he's such a Candela nationalist.
Candela nationalist.
Mm-hmm.
Emily doesn't look extraordinarily thrilled to be having to work with an OUP officer either.
Quinn looks confused. they're kind of, they look around, lock eyes with Emily for a second and give like a friendly smile, being like, we know we somehow, like, okay, familiar faces, good. But otherwise, almost everything that's being said is almost like a foreign language to them. They have no idea what OUP is. They don't know why they happen to be in this strange place.
Raisa kind of gestures for you to follow her as she approaches the crime scene. I will show you all why you're here, but it would do great if it would do wonders if you kind of made introductions along the way. She looks towards Raphael. We've met once or twice. I hope you don't set your expectations too highly on this, on the successful outcome of this. This has been an ongoing investigation that the OUP have been tracking for, and you hear Luis kind of 7 months.
Great.
I think that it's just a matter of time before you bring us in and we take care of it. That's what we're here for, yes?
He he kind of shrugs his shoulders because he doesn't really care, it seems, but I just want this case to be closed, and I want to stop whatever is doing this. And he's going to gesture at this body that is covered in spider webs, lying on the ground.
I'm assuming they're dead.
Oh yeah, there are no spiders to be seen. It's just covered in webs.
Oh no, Quinn literally is saying, I'm
Body?
assuming that this person is dead.
You see the officer kind of nudge the body's foot with his foot. As far as we can tell, they're all dead.
Oh.
Well, that seems
You
like a poor
found-
way to preserve evidence, but okay.
You found a bunch like this.
He exhales as he seems to think. There have been 22 cases like this.
How are we not hearing about this on the news? I mean,
This stuff doesn't make the news. Remember I told you I've seen a lot of weird shit? She'll gesture at the body again.
So this is the weird shit you really meant, not just like kooky things.
Okay, well, yeah. I haven't seen a lot of whatever that is, but I've seen and heard stuff. And yeah, this kind of stuff. Welcome to the circus.
Gotcha. Kind of taking stock of the group that we have here. So what do we do next? What do we do next? I'm fairly new to this. I don't usually work with people, so what do we do?
As you take stock of the group, you'll actually see Elizabeth, who is covered in mud, clearly did not dress for the occasion properly, reach into her purse and pull out a tuning fork and DM this is a bleed detector.
Okay.
And instead of striking it, we'll just hold it near the body, seeing if there's any trace of bleed left, almost as though she's not even paying attention to the conversation.
So the body itself does not give off any bleed, but when the tuning fork gets close to these little splatters of lime green across the ground and across near the body's hand, and like you can see it on the body's hand, that starts to give off a little hum in your tuning fork.
I'll turn, and hearing the "what are we supposed to do?" I'll just look at Quinn and say, "Well, darling, we are going to find what left this behind," as the tuning fork hums over that lime green splatter near the hand.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Emily kind of takes stock of Elizabeth and just goes, "You might want better shoes if that's the plan," and is going to move to look a little closer at the body herself, carefully not touching anything. You would note immediately, even in the dark and in the rain, that like her coat is like an oversized man's coat that clearly was not made for her, and her clothes underneath are like presentable, but definitely have seen many, probably many years of wear. They've been very, very well kept, well maintained.
While they are doing that and she's looking closer at the body, Raphael would like to like glance around, see how many other people are around, but also like see if there's any other spider web or this green splatter anywhere else in this alleyway. I think you said it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just try and get a note of what's going on, and really, really look for any other spot that there might be something like that. I don't think I'd walk around, but like I might take a couple steps away from them just to like get a sense of the whole alleyway.
So as you notice the light from different flashlights scattering over the cobblestone here, you do notice this little glistening of silk and little spots of spider web trailing off towards a drain pipe that would lead to the sewer system. The body itself, as Emily is looking at it, it is wrapped like a cocoon, like a spider is preserving this to eat later, or maybe like it intends to come back for it. Because there is kind of a reason this hasn't been reported, and they only have 22 cases that they've seen. Raisa does look at Quinn and she smiles softly. I understand this is a odd situation, but we do have any equipment you think you might need. I get the sense that whatever did this is large, which is more terrifying that it can move through New Brexin as easily as it seems to be doing.
I agree. And Quinn's looking at the scene. Even in an alleyway, or especially in an alleyway, you would see puddle, like dirt and grime kind of building up even in the rain. Do we see any disruptions of this that would indicate that the body had been dragged through this stuff during the rain? Does the body itself look like it's been moved? Or does it look like it almost materialized here and was wrapped?
The body doesn't look like it's been moved, but it the only movement on this body seems to have happened from somebody on the crime scene. Because the silk wrapping seems to have been pulled away from the man's face.
I look at Officer Rowe. Who ripped open the cocoon?
You see this change of expression where he's been mildly irritated this whole time to an actual anger. And he points towards the periphery police officer who is sitting in the back of one of the ambulance vans. And he is holding his face in a manner of, this man is having a panic attack.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it. What scares me most is not just that this thing is moving through the city. It seems to be moving through the city and just depositing these bodies. They're not being moved. They don't look like it's been moved very much.
Well, I
How
think whatever it
nobody is
is
seeing
might
it is
come
weird.
back.
Yeah.
It's wrapped like spiders wrap flies. They don't just leave them wrapped in their webs forever. Something wrapped this guy, and it's not here now, but I don't know if it's gonna stay gone.
How does this man's face look?
Are you turning his head towards you, or are you moving around the body to look at it?
I'm moving around it. I am not touching it.
Okay. When you move around this cocooned body to see the face, you start to understand why Candela called you. You also start to understand why the police officer is having a panic attack as memories start flooding you of your wife and the way she looked when you found her body. This man's face is completely gone and featureless. And you're going to take a brain mark.
I think seeing this, Quinn jumps back. They can't get close to it for a few minutes.
When?
It's wrong. It's wrong. It
Immediately-
shouldn't be like.
I immediately get up and go around so I can see what they're seeing.
There is nothing on this face. There is no nose, there are no eyes, there's no mouth hole. It is just skin pulled tight. There are no features. And you also take a brain mark.
It's wrong. It's wrong. It shouldn't. It can't be like that. No. I don't. I don't. Quinn is clearly having a moment. Throughout their investigation, looking into their late wife, their late wife, they have never come across something that can really confirm to them in a solid way that something is really wrong with what had happened. Spiders don't eat like that.
No.
right?
No, I don't think so. I think Emily is mostly just trying to like keep her stomach down at this point. She's not as freaked out as Quinn, but differently. It's the wrongness of it. I think there's thoughts in the back of her mind, but it's mostly just the shock. And she's sort of she's trying to kind of focus on Quinn because that's less upsetting.
I look at Ro again. Are all of them like this?
He exhales and he nods. It's made it real hard to identify who they are and report to the families.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm sorry, I need to step away, and Quinn steps away to catch their breath.
Emily will kind of follow. I'll give you space, but like sort of follow a little bit to get some distance as well, and also keep an eye on you.
What are Elizabeth and Raphael doing?
I think Elizabeth would have looked up from where she was staring at this lime green splatter. And if I notice Raphael is scanning the scene, I'd be walking over and just saying, "So, see anything else that doesn't look quite right?"
Other than us having to be here, and he'd point to the other splatter, or not the other splatter, the silk. You said there was silk.
Mm-hmm.
Is interesting.
Maybe you use more. And he'd like point to the bleed detector, and he's really distracted by that. By everybody kind of having how you all reacted. He's like trying to like talk, but also he's like watching you all walk away, and in his mind he's like he like kind of knew what he was getting into a little bit, and he's not really. It's one of those situations where, because of how much part of this world he has like watched, he doesn't imagine that other people outside of it don't really know about it. So it's hard for him to be like, wait, they knew what they signed up for, right? Type of thing. And he like fixed himself a little bit and stopped staring because that's rude. And then, but let's check out over here, yes?
Yes, of course. Also, I wouldn't worry too much. I think they've just learned that there's a lot that is more possible than they may have realized before now. And I'll follow you over towards the silk.
You
Yeah.
kind of hear Raisa say, then we've done our job well.
When we get over to where the silk is, if I can reach it, I'm gonna like spin it and kind of pull, just so I can get it in my hand and make sure it's actually spider silk.
It's sticky like spider web.
Hate it. Okay, well, here. And I'd like go to hand it to you, like take it out of my hands.
I'll take it.
All yours. Good.
I'll kind of rub it between my fingers, and though the silk on the body didn't give off any bleed, just wave the detector over it to check and make sure before trying to flick it off my fingers as best I can.
It's just spider silk.
If it wraps the bodies in this, and it's over here too, we might have a trail to follow.
Well, most of the trail either leads up to the roof or down into the sewers.
God help me. Can I get a better look at what's in the sewer?
Do you want? Okay. Yeah.
Yup.
Hiya, Raffi.
He'll bend down and he'll light a match, just hold it and flick it down the sewer.
While you're lighting the match, the umbrella will just go over your hand and make sure that it doesn't get put out by the rain.
Ah. Thanks.
Do you want to roll I think it's called survey?
Sure.
I have apparently.
I have a dot in that. Why not?
You have a singular dot?
Yeah.
I have to give you one more die on that.
Yeah.
Say that I'm helping by keeping the match lit and looking over your shoulder as well.
Ah, fantastic. That is a 5.
Inside this little drainage opening, there's a lot of spider webs. Like you expect when you look into something like this, you see maybe one in the corner, maybe one taking up a huge section of the opening. This is enough that you could probably make silk. They're implying there were a lot of spiders here at some point recently.
I'll look up at Elizabeth. Well, don't say I never did anything crazy. And I'll reach my hand down and just scoop a little bit around it, just to make sure that it is actually just the silk and not a bunch of stuff that I could describe that I don't need to. Go ahead.
If you're reaching into it, it's mostly silk. There are some little pieces of trash that have floated in from the rain and gotten stuck, but it is for the most part silk and pieces of paper, cigarette butts.
Great. Just garbage. And I'd wipe my hand on the side of the thing, get up, I would go to pull like a rag out of my pocket, but it is just like crayons fall out of it and all this stuff. Like stuff from my schoolhouse would fall out of it, and he'd be like, I guess they put stuff in my coat again. I don't have a rag at all. And I would just use a piece of my coat to like wipe off my thing. I'll have to clean that later.
You'd see Elizabeth reaching into her purse and then seeing you wiping on your coat and just being like, "Oh, well, I suppose that works too."
When you're around kids all day, it's all going to be what it is.
Raisa approaches Quinn and Emily, and she kind of bows her head slightly. I apologize for the shock and the strange reveal. And you notice the way she stands, she keeps her right eye in focus with you. There are a lot of questions I presently cannot answer. I hope this particular investigation will build a bond of trust between us. And she does pause as she tries to find the words to not seem insensitive to the situation.
Quinn looks at her, kind of collects themselves. I just wasn't mentally prepared for this after going to the gym. I was I was ready to take a shower, maybe, get some pizza or something for dinner and go to bed, but we're here. We're gonna get down to business, it looks like. And yeah, we'll see about that trust.
Well, even if you don't get the answers you're looking for here, I'm sure we can help you with that at the chapter house. And she looks towards Emily and she says, I hope you also find answers to your questions.
We'll find out, I guess. At this point, who knows? Anything's possible.
And you notice as she looks away, she never really seems to move this eye, and the skin around it seems damaged. She smiles a little. I do hope all of you stay safe as you can. And she kind of glances towards the body, and it's funny because the way she has positioned herself when she glances, she's not really looking at it, and she's done this on purpose because she's blind in this eye.
Mm-hmm.
And she adds, if there are any questions or equipment you need at any point, you can return to the chapter house. There is a lot of equipment that can be brought to you if you so need. Very large things that you can't carry. I am in no hurry to have this thing contained alive. But that is all the information I presently know. Officer Rowe is going to be delivering me a good many case files to look over for the rest of the night.
Yeah. I have a question for Officer Rowe. And I'm just gonna kind of immediately just walk over. Very direct. We will just walk over to Officer Rowe and excuse me.
He's in the middle of shouting about the periphery needs to stay back and not mess up any more of his crime scene. And he turns and he
Like him marginally more after that. I will, yeah. As soon as I sort of have his attention, I will say, the bodies that you found like this, the other ones, is there anything, I mean, the ones you have identified, do you know is there anything they've had in common other than, now I'll sort of gesture back towards the body.
He scratches his chin, and you can tell it's been one of those days where he's not shaved. He didn't get up and shave before he came out. It's outside of his typical routine, and he's scratching his chin and he shakes his head. He says, "Nah, the only thing they got in common is they look like a travel-sized snack." This man is so tired of seeing bodies like this.
Understood. Lee's actively writing this down. And have you identified any of the bodies?
There's been quite a few. The ones we can get to before somebody else, and he looks towards the police officers. Before somebody else has decided to tear apart the cocoon, you're welcome to search the body if you'd like. You can't do any more damage than they did.
Have you searched
Enough.
any of the other bodies?
We typically do that when we get them back to the headquarters.
Then we'll wait to search, or at least I'm gonna wait. I'm not touching that anytime soon.
Well,
Emily's thinking about it, but she saw the splatter and is sort of has a sense that she shouldn't touch that. So she's sort of torn.
he nods. I don't really like to touch them either.
With a glance, Quinn glances back very briefly at Raisa, and then comes back to be in the present and looks at Emily and goes, "Maybe we should join the other two, see if they've found anything interesting, and also get an idea of who we're working with. I gather you don't know them either."
I do not. And you see Emily cast an extremely judgmental look at Elizabeth. She does not make any commentary, but just a look. Let's go get acquainted. Thanks, officer. And I will, again, just immediately start walking in the new direction.
As you all
When you give that look,
yeah, go ahead.
when you give that judgmental look, I think in that moment you're seeing a handkerchief coming out of the purse and then being put back in as Raph is wiping hands on the jacket.
Just a little sigh.
We didn't find much.
Dean, you
Looks
said
at your
the
jacket.
silk also goes up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Think there's roof access around here?
Yeah, I was gonna say we need to find where it starts. Or where it ends.
I'm fairly sure it starts right there, and I'd point to like that giant like cocoon of all of the stuff that I just put my hand through.
And why did you touch it?
To get a better sense of what it was. And I'd still have like a little ball of it in my hand, and I'd roll it up and put it in a little baggie and put it in my pocket for later.
Okay.
Quinn just does like that, like very overly dramatic, like multiple blinks of just complete confusion and amazement at the group she's in. Or they look at everyone and okay, well, I guess before we go anywhere, my name is Quinn. Nice to meet you all.
It is such a pleasure. My name is Raphael, and I'd put the hand out that I just did all of that with to shake.
I reach into my sweaty gym bag and grab like a gross gym towel, and I'm like, "Here, you can wipe your hand off, bud. I'm not touching spider stuff today."
You might be. As I wipe it off with the thing. Thank you, though.
Toss it back in the bag. It's all good.
I'd ask.
Hi, I'm oh, go ahead.
I'd ask how everyone's doing tonight, but I know that's not going to be well. But my name is Elizabeth. Elizabeth Herschel. Pleasure to meet you all.
Emily just nods. I'm Emily, and she'll stick out a hand. She'll stick out a hand to shake Raph's hand.
Yeah, we'd shake. And then I'd be like, pleasure to meet you, Quinn and Lizzie.
With my other, I'll say with my other hand, as I'm shaking her hand, I pick just like a strand of spider silk off your sleeve. Just very matter of fact.
Fantastic.
Yeah, do we see? Go ahead.
You do see a fire escape nearby that has
was
the
my
ladder
question.
down.
Before we clamber up, there is one more thing I wanted to ask that officer. And I'll
Not
head
very
over
useful.
to it. Maybe we'll have just one bit of information we can carry. And I'll head off in his direction.
Okay.
I'll pull the ladder down so that y'all can get to it. And I think that Raphael would say, maybe I stay down here while you all check up there. If you see something, you call and I will climb up then.
I'll go. You guys can stay if you want. I'm good.
I hate heights. Oh, thank you.
Well, I hate spiders, so to each their own.
I deal with the spiders, you deal with the heights, yes?
Sounds like a fair deal. And
probably not.
I'm not
maybe
the most
not
athletic,
in this
so
adventure.
be my guest.
And yeah, while Elizabeth heads off to talk to Officer Rowe, I'm going to start making a climb up the building.
Officer Rowe is in the process of leading two Candela members with it's a glass rectangular box, and all of the corners are sealed together with these gold bolts and clamps. This one, however, is reminiscent of a see-through coffin in the way it is laid on its side. As they're wheeling it forward, he's leading them over there, and he looks up. Yeah, anything else? They're getting ready to take this back to wherever the lady went. He looks around, and you don't see Raisa anywhere.
Well, I have no problem with them taking the body where it needs to go. I did have just a couple of questions for you, though.
All right.
Firstly, and I'll point to the lime green splatter that I was getting the bleed read off of.
Mm-hmm.
Has that been at the other scenes that we've found that have been found here?
Yeah, usually. All over
right.
the bodies, all over the scene, all over the wound.
Good to know. Has it been identified or just an unknown substance?
A little bit of both. Depends on the day, depends on how hard it got hit.
Okay. I'll just ask you one final question before I go regroup with everyone else. To continue this on, was there any sound heard beforehand? Anyone see the scene at all? Or hear anything?
He gestures towards what looks like an apartment complex, or maybe a hotel, which would be weird to have a hotel in the Black Mire. He says, People over there said they heard gunshots. That's about it.
All right. Thank you for the information. I'll be sure to follow up on anything I can. Hopefully you get some rest. Looks like you haven't had some in a while. And I'll turn to head back to the group.
You hear him mumble, 7 months of this shit.
Buddy.
This man needs a vacation, and he is hoping you will give it to him.
I think this is going to be true of every person in this game, but I think he needs therapy.
Too old
Wait for
this.
I mean, we probably all do.
Well, that's why I said I think everyone in this game needs it too, but still.
Yeah.
Wait till you meet Baron and you join the book club.
You leave my other character.
My favorite kind of therapy. That's my favorite kind of therapy.
Baron's doing his best.
So who all is going up to the rooftop and who is staying down on the ground?
Staying on the ground, if they allow me to. If anybody, I was like, if anybody would make any notion of like, well, I guess you can stay if you're scared or anything like that, then I'd be like, fine, and climb up the damn ladder. But like, if
so we know that Raphael just needs to be goaded a little bit, and he'll go.
Yes, 100%, because he doesn't want anybody to feel like they're not safe or they're like being abandoned or anything like that. He would very much like, no, I'll do it. But if you guys can do it, I will happily wait here for this moment type of stuff. Yeah.
Emily will wait with Raphael at the base of the ladder if Quinn's volunteering to go up and take a look, with every intention of scrambling up if at the first sign of trouble, but is not like the most adept at climbing things, so we'll stay behind.
No, Quinn tells everybody, like, hey, no, I'll go. I know I can get up there pretty easily. Come if you want to. You're welcome to, but I can yell down what I see.
We'll spot you.
Elizabeth has no intention of staying on the ground. She's going to go up that ladder and see what's up there.
Come along, Lizzie.
You know, you'd think I'd heard that one before.
Emily thinks so hard about climbing the minute Elizabeth goes past her.
Mm-hmm.
And then stays on the ground because it's wet and rainy and slippy and she doesn't want to fall.
Now that Elizabeth is coming, Quinn looks at Emily and goes, hey, you know what? 2 and 2. I think buddy system is a good move, so maybe you and Raph should just hang out.
Be my guest.
So we're going to start traversing the fire escapes as we make our way up Donkey Kong style.
Right.
Mm-hmm. As Elizabeth steps on the ladder, she'll just turn and say, keep an eye on that drainage, just in case. Don't want anything coming out of there.
It will not go anywhere, I promise.
And then I'll follow up.
It's about 3 stories up. So you have three sets of stairs after you get up the initial ladder. When you get to the top, you get the sense that this is where it started. That down below is where it ended. Because there is this large blood splatter on the roof. But
well, I think we found where he died.
Quite possibly.
You've got that thing, that little like U-shaped looking thing. It showed stuff down below. Do you think there's anything up here it could show us?
I'll pull out the tuning fork. This is a bleed detector. It tells us when there's something that shouldn't be here that is. And I'll start waving it towards the blood splatter and everything else, trying to find anything.
The detector doesn't make a noise. It's just normal blood from what it is reading. But if you both want to make me a survey roll.
Okay, remind me. I have 1 dot and survey. What does that? How many do I roll?
You roll one.
Okay.
If it has the square or the diamond next to it filled in, then that's a gilded die instead.
Got it, and it is not.
I think while they're rolling, Rafael.
Okay.
Oh, good. Sorry.
Sorry, no, I got a 3.
No.
And the 6 for me. Oh, I was supposed to roll 2 dice.
It's
fine.
I would just keep the 6.
Yeah.
Quinn just kind of, there's blood. There's a lot of blood right here, but there's no trail over the edge. And that's kind of like the part that stumps Quinn into, why is there no trail?
Yeah.
Body
Body was here, and now it's there, and I'm not seeing any in between.
But Elizabeth, as you're looking around, looking for bleed, there's little trails of silk. There's a revolver laying nearby and a shell casing. A revolver doesn't have a shell casing. For a moment, I forgot my guns. Revolvers don't eject shell casings when they fire.
Oh, right. No, it doesn't. It stays right in there.
Yeah, you gotta eject it yourself.
Yeah, it took me a second. It's been a little while since I've dealt with those.
Yeah, like I went to say it, so.
Well, because at first I was gonna go, but there are shells. Like I know that there's a shell with a revolver, and then I was like, because they don't. You're right. They don't just like they don't check them out like other weapons.
Yeah, my brain went to say that too, but you see a revolver and you kind of assume that's where the gunshots that were mentioned come from. But up here, this does look like where it started. It doesn't look like there was a struggle. But down below, what was Raph gonna do?
Just making small talk or whatever while they're climbing. And after they get out of earshot, I feel like Raph would be like, I feel like that little fork she had was a lot more expensive than anything I own.
Everything she has is more expensive than everything I own. Trust me.
I could just imagine how many books that I could buy for my students with just however much money that little fork costs.
Probably a few. Books are expensive though, so.
They are.
Yes.
And I was going to trade a whole... And then he stops and remembers he didn't get anything he actually gave those books away for. And he goes, oh, my friend owes me so much stuff right now. And he would just kind of start talking to himself, and like he'd rifle through his pockets and pull out like this little list of like the ingredients he was supposed to get for like different things. And if you were to glance at them, you'd realize they're occult ingredients. And that's kind of the whole version of what I'm trying to get at here. They're all written in crayon.
She's watching this whole thing with amusement and maybe a little something else if you were to really pay attention to her expression, which you're clearly not. And she will kind of glance over to see what you're writing. Definitely clocks the crayon, doesn't comment. But does clock the list of ingredients and is like, fancy stuff.
Safety first, yes. And I'd like roll it back up. put it in my pocket. It's a ball of just mess that I put in my pocket.
Never mind. So you've been with Candela long?
No, this is my first circle, but I have known about them for my whole life.
Really? Wow. I've known about them for a few years, but this is also my first actual circle.
Then we will both make a name together.
Sure. She doesn't seem that sure, as opposed to the shores she's been giving Elizabeth's direction. That one seems more like a, yeah, okay, then I'll like try to shut down the conversation, but
Yep.
yeah.
While you two are talking,
Yep.
Officer Rowe walks back over and he
God
holds
help
up this handful of stuff. And you hear, she called herself a lightkeeper. Woman doesn't carry a flashlight or match or a lighter. He's got this look on his face of he knows what a lightkeeper is. He's being a smartass. And he holds out a little handful of stuff and kind of looks at both of you as if who's going to take it. She said this might be helpful.
I think Emily was reaching for it as soon as he started being a smartass and she was already reaching for it. Like, cut the nonsense. So
Raphael completely would let her take it, but he would take his hand, and I would look him dead in the eyes and be like, huh, she told me that she was the light of your world. Making like a very silly kid joke that he would, and then he'd like let his hand go, and I would make sure to wipe whatever else is on my hands away on his.
You see this look of just resigned sighing as he watches you wipe your hands on his, and he, don't really say this about many women, but I feel like we're not in the same game. Is how far out of my league she would be.
I play kickball with my students.
So you understand. Fantastic. I have paperwork to do. Wish I could hire someone to do it. Good luck. You're gonna need it. And you see him, and he is very irritated about all of this. He wishes he could be asleep right now, not having to clean whatever was just wiped on his hands off. You see him stop by the ambulance van, and he's using one of their sandy rags to clean his hand while he's speaking with the officer who's slowly coming down from his panic attack. As irritated as he was, he does look like he's checking in on the officer.
while Raphael was still being silly, Emily was immediately starting to look at what they've been handed.
Yeah.
You were handed.
She is smiling though.
It looks like a wallet and a building key.
Fuck.
I will put the key in my pocket for now, just so I have two hands to open the wallet.
Inside the wallet, there's an identification card that says Miles Crane on it. There's a business card that also says Miles Crane, but underneath it, it says Private Investigator. The identification has like his home address and a portrait of him on it. You know that photography is a recent discovery, so it is a sepia colored portrait. If I butchered that, somebody can leave in the comments how it's actually pronounced. I will continue to pronounce it sepia. The business card has the address of his business, which is just a few numbers off from his home address. On the back of it is written Florence Brighton.
Florence Brighton?
Florence Brighton. And then it says Eden with a question mark.
I am sort of, as I'm looking, I'm sort of holding it so that Raphael can also see. Do I recognize any of the names, addresses, anything like that?
Not as somewhere you would have frequented. Not often, at least. You know that. Ouch, sorry. I just had the randomest scratch. You know that the office is in what did I name that place? Why are none of my notes done?
To go along with her question, since I'm glancing at this,
Yeah.
is this a place I would have met Baron in before to buy any of my occult stuff?
Probably. No, probably not, actually.
Okay.
I'll also say the minute I saw like what I was being handed and what like that I was opening the wallet to see the ID, the smile that I had watching Raphael's shenanigans immediately gone.
The private investigator's office is in the district known as Seven Locks, and you know that is where the police buildings tend to be.
I've never been there then.
So it makes sense that a private investigator would also be based out of this area. What are you two on the roof doing?
Cool stuff. Sorry, go ahead.
So, I'm
Being
taking
weird.
a look. I'm taking a look at the silk and the revolver and everything laying around. And I'll look to Quinn and say, there's a chance that this is where the body was wrapped before being taken down there. And I'll start picking up little pieces of silk and I'll point out the revolver.
That
The officer,
would make sense. There's no drag marks here or down below. I think you're onto it. Are there any bullets left in the revolver?
checked yet, but the officer did say that in the apartment or hotel or whatever that is across the way, they heard gunshots. There was definitely a struggle before this happened, but it seems the shots either missed or were ineffective.
Good to
And
know that this thing doesn't go down when shot with a revolver. That's a good thing to know.
and I'll then pick up the revolver with a handkerchief and just, not knowing how revolvers work, try and figure out if there are any shots left in it, but still
And
being
looks at this.
smart enough.
Do Do you want me to look? I've been
Please.
gun safety trained. Yeah. I would much rather
There-
not have this go off. I mean, granted, it doesn't look like the hammer's been pulled, but still. At least
There
from a
is-
distance, it doesn't.
There's clearly enough of a mind there to not point it in your direction or her own, but not enough to not think about the windows around here or anything else. while just trying to shake and see if there's anything in it.
God.
For us,
Quinn
directly
goes
below.
Quinn goes into almost like survivalist mode and like grabs the revolver with the handkerchief and sits down with it, cross-legged on the ground, not really caring what's on the ground around her, but is like, we're gonna put it down so that it's not hitting people, and goes to open up the chamber and checks to see if any of how many shells are still primed and ready to be fired, and how many were actually shot.
Like most revolvers, this is a 6-shooter. But only one bullet has been shot.
And the others are good to go?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And am I correct in assuming that this is a hammer-pulled revolver? It's not an automatic?
No. It's
So,
hammer pulled,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah. I just want to make
Sorry.
sure.
Single action,
no, you're
not
good.
double action. Got it.
I realized
single
I
action.
didn't answer the
Well,
question.
I asked two contradictory questions, and then you said no, and I'm like, that doesn't answer either because I don't know which one you're talking about, but okay. So yeah, it's a single action revolver. 5 out of 6 of the bullets are live. I would like, I look at Elizabeth. Do you remember if they said how many shots went off in the hotel?
The officer didn't specify how many they heard, but I'm
Only
sure we
one has gone off here.
So either there was only one shot fired and people just...
Or there was a second gun.
That's always an option. I keep losing the voice. But Elizabeth will look at you and say, so either this man fired a shot and then was struck down immediately, or fired a shot and realized it wasn't helping before going down.
Yeah. Well, looking around and thinking back to the top-notch police work we've seen thus far, it doesn't look like we're doing much evidence retrieval, at least not in the formal sense. I'm just gonna hold on to this. And I put the gun in my duffel bag.
Never know.
I would
when
like to.
something's
I would. Knowing it's a single action revolver, I'm not going to unload it. I'm just going to leave it as is and make sure that the hammer is not pulled so that it is not ready to be fired.
Okay.
Looking around this rooftop, is there roof access from the building? Would you be able to, is there a door, I should say?
There is not a door on this building. There is one across the alleyway. But that's a good 10-foot leap that somebody would have to make.
Okay. So either they came up the fire escape and that's where they made their stand, or they made a leap Maybe we need to check the other building.
Might be good to split up the search on the other building. One group canvassing people, asking questions, seeing what they heard, what they saw. The other investigating the roof, seeing if there's any signs of anything there.
Do we see anything else up on this roof? Anything else of importance? Are there any drains up here? Anything?
Not really. It's a roof that's been covered in blood. Well, not really covered
Fair
in blood,
enough.
but a blood splatter.
Yeah. Okay.
But the spider silk that is on the roof leads over the edge toward the ground. Whereas there's no blood trail, there is a silk trail.
Okay. All right. Well, we should probably go down and catch up with the others.
Yes, of course. And as Elizabeth is saying, yes, of course, she'll gather up a little bit of the silk and just get ready to hand it to Raph when they reach the floor. After you.
We start making our way down.
As you come down, I'm kind of still holding this so Raph can also see. Looks like we know who this is. And where he lives and where he works. So that's something. That's a start.
We found where the guy was killed.
On the roof?
Yeah. Big scene up there. Lot of silk, lot of blood.
And when Quinn says silk, I'll toss a ball of it over to Raph. Looks like he was wrapped up there before being brought down below.
No.
And in honor of transparency, I did find a revolver, and it is in my bag. Just putting it out there. Don't
Good
need
to know.
too many Chekhov's guns.
Take a look at this, and Emily will hand the wallet over to Quinn and sort of say to the group, we should probably go over there, see if there's anything there at some point anyway. Anyone kind of trails
Before
off.
we do, I wanted to go up to the other roof. It didn't seem to make sense how people or why people went up to this roof. There's no other access point, nothing that we could find. So yeah, I'd just like to climb up real quick and see if there's anything weird up there. And then we can absolutely go.
That's
We
good.
should also-
I'll just pocket. Oh, go ahead.
We should also be asking some of the people, and I'll point to the building in there. They said they heard gunshots, but there was only one fired from that revolver. See if they heard anything else, saw anything else. Though that might be better for someone who's not going to give an air of condescension just by being.
Yeah, I can talk
Well-
to some people. I do it for a living anyway, half the time, so. Are we splitting up then, or should I wait? Should we wait?
I mean, I'm gonna go up again. If anybody wants to join, they can. That's assuming where we're standing, I can find another fire escape on the other building.
There's not one in this alleyway.
Love that. Love that. Okay. I'm gonna go for a little jog and go on the other side and see if I find one.
There is a fire escape, except the problem is that the upper part of it on this side of the building is sort of leaning away from the building.
Ooh,
Wonderful.
that's not good. Yeah, I've run back to the group. Yeah, so I still want to climb it, but I'm gonna put it out there that this could be not safe.
We saw a door on the other roof, right?
Mhm.
With access to that?
Yeah. You could go through the building.
We could go through the building. That sounds like the safe choice.
Well, you go to the top of the building, and her and I can knock on some doors and talk to people and their pets.
Fair enough. You guys talk with people and we'll climb up the inside of the building so we don't die.
Just
Not
wouldn't
from
want
this, at
anyone
least.
else. Wouldn't want anyone else dying this evening in these alleyways.
Well, it seems like a beautiful place to die.
Out in the open, under the sky, wet. Let's go inside.
Yeah.
Not my first choice. I'd pick peacefully in my sleep. But to each their own, and I'll start heading towards the building.
You just hear, as I've already started to take a few steps, you just hear sort of muffled sarcasm.
Everything in me wanted to do the whole would you rather like kids thing with you, but I was like, I'm not doing that right now. Like Raphael would be like, he'd start thinking of himself.
Yeah, I'll start going up the stairs inside to try and get up to the roof.
So this building is this building that you're entering could be an apartment, could be a hotel, could have been a hotel at one point, refurbished into an apartment. You do see a crowd of people in the lobby, and they're trying to look but not look like they're looking to watch the scene outside, except for this one younger gentleman. And I say younger, but it's really just a kid, and he is watching like this is the most exciting thing he has seen in his entire lifetime. He has never seen this many people excited, not in a happy way, but excited about something in the mire.
Where is he?
He's standing in the doorway, pressed up against the glass of it, watching. It takes him a moment to realize people are approaching the building before he steps back and kind of gets out of the way.
I would immediately get down to his level if we're passing him.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, "Hey, my name is Raphael. Do you live here?" I already know the answer, but I'm talking to a kid, so we're doing this.
This kid, yeah, I live up on the 3rd floor.
The 3rd floor? That's so high. I hate heights. How do you do that? You must be very brave.
There was one time I tried to climb out the window, but Mom caught me.
That's a good parent. Don't go out the window. It's scary, but I have something very cool that we found. Did you hear everything that happened?
There was a loud noise. I was asleep.
How many loud noises were there?
you see him just kind of like his brain disconnects as he's trying to remember.
Yep.
There was a
In that
loud. It sounded like thunder. We don't get thunder down here.
I know. I don't get any at my schoolhouse either. But did it wake you up, or did you hear more than one? Because you're supposed to count.
I did count.
Great.
And I counted forever.
I get to 5 sometimes too.
I got to 22 before I gave up.
Is it how many loud sounds there were, or how long it took after the loud sound?
How long after?
That makes sense.
What was the loud sound? Was it thunder? Did we get thunder?
You know, I think it might have been. And I'll be like, but here you go. And I'm going to pull out a little wad of the spider silk and give it to him.
I grab your wrist as soon as you go to do that. I'm like, how? Don't give that to a kid.
It's just a ball.
We don't even know what it...
Okay, and I'll give it to you.
You see this kid, and he is following this spider silk. Like, ooh, what is that?
I'm gonna wink at him. I'm gonna wink at him, and as I stand up, I'm gonna hand him an actual like toy. One from whatever.
Emily's now in the situation of holding the spider silk and like her notebook and pen, and is kind of looking at it and kind of slowly just puts it in her pocket.
Yep.
All right. Well,
he's talking to anyone that will listen about the officers outside because they are all police officers to him. He does not understand there's a difference in the organizations around the country. But they're...
I would ask him to tell me more, but I would also start walking him to the 3rd floor to take him home to his parent. Because I would want him to be at home safe. And also, as silly as like Raphael is in general, there's like a really like stern note of like fierceness in like the way he would like be with this child, like protecting wise. Like there is this note of like this is a serious thing to him. As he like made sure he held the kid's hand, made sure he walked up the stairs, made sure the kid went first. Like there's like a whole like you would see the school teacher in him at that moment, like the very realness of it all. But I'd listen to anything this kid talked about.
I will stay downstairs, assuming you're going to be right back, and I will sort of start talking to people who are in the lobby, sort of asking them if they've seen, if they saw anything, if they heard the gunshot, anything like that. Just like sort of asking anyone to tell me sort of what they know.
You get a number of different stories of ranging from, oh, it was, 2 shots to there was this barrage of gunshot in the area and there hadn't been this much shooting in years and this was one of the safer neighborhoods. Everyone in the Blackmire is just trying to exist for the most part. But there are varying stories between the amount of gunshot. Oddly enough, the child's story is the only one that kind of matches with the gun that Quinn found.
I might, if Raphael hasn't come back yet, I might then actually follow him up to the 3rd floor because now I kind of want to talk to this kid's parents.
Were the other two, were Quinn and Elizabeth going straight upstairs?
Absolutely. Elizabeth is terrible with people.
Yeah, Quinn's not a people person. I'm going up to the roof.
this building is the same number of floors as the other one. And you do have the doorway entry access onto it. And up here it looks like this apartment complex has kind of turned it into a little community center. There's some tables and lights and chairs. There's a little overhang that has a record player. I was trying to think of the actual name of it with the little
Oh, the
The
gramophone.
yeah, there you go. I wasn't sure that's what it was, but I didn't want to say the wrong name. But it looks like they've kind of turned this into a little community area. It does not look like anyone was out here in the rain.
Can we search for spider silk?
That would be another roll.
And you said that that's a survey roll?
I would say it could be a survey or a focus roll.
I've got the same for both, so it doesn't matter.
Personally, I'm going to take focus because I've got that one gilded.
I got a 4 in survey.
I'll take the gilded one to get a drive back, and that is a 6 in focus.
Cool. There's not any silk over here. But as you're looking around, you do kind of see this indention in the wall. And it is still warm. There is excuse me. There's a lot of stuff that just kind of got left up here. But this hole in the brick looks odd because everything does seem pretty maintained. Like when they come up here and they use it, they clean up. But inside this hole that is warm, if you reached far enough in, you could feel the bullet.
And I think that's exactly what Elizabeth is doing, is reaching into that hole and just feeling around until she finds the bullet.
So you assume from the information you've gathered that when the shot was fired, it may have completely missed the attacker and shot into the building. So it is a good thing it was raining, that nobody wanted to be out in the rain.
Okay, so it looks like it was shot from the other building. That means there's somebody else out there with the other gun. Fun.
Elizabeth is just holding what I presume is likely a squished bullet from going through brick between her fingers, folding it over and over. Well,
I'm kind of just
maybe.
looking at the spread upstairs, the spread of things up there, and just going, it does not seem like a good idea to leave things like this unsecured in this neighborhood, but okay.
Some way to be able to relax.
I mean, true. It's just, I don't know. I mean, maybe more people do this, and maybe I just haven't looked for it. But yeah. I mean, I'm just glad nobody else was hurt. You know, nobody else. There's no more blood, no more spider webs.
Another
Yeah.
piece of good news:
We-
if he
Hmm?
did miss, then maybe it can be stopped with bullets. But that's an if.
That is a big if. I don't know if I would bank on that. We should see how the other two got on with canvassing.
See if they learned anything. And I'll stow the bullet away in my purse.
Has Emily caught up with Raphael yet?
As she came up the stairs, I would be sitting on the floor, like in the hallway, and I'm just petting this old boxer looking dog. And I would look her dead in the face and be like, I found a dog! I named him Pierogi.
You see her face go through like several different emotions very quickly. There's like exasperation and like amusement, and then something else altogether. And I think I would venture a guess that Raphael is used to certain reactions to people from people to his shenanigans.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you've gotten this particular sort of look from many people. She kind of is like, almost like she's trying to think of something to say, but or like she's trying to make sense of something.
Mm.
It's a more serious look, and then she kind of it's all very, very fast.
Mhm.
And she's like, "You're playing with okay. It's a lovely dog. A lovely dog."
He is old. The boy, he lives in that the apartment right there. His mother's still awake.
I'm keep playing with the dog. I'm going to go talk to the grown-ups, and I'll go knock on the door.
I'll be here.
Uh,
I'm like in eyesight of the door.
Yeah.
This dog does have like a collar and tags, and his name is not Pierogi.
Not at all.
The door you approach has a wreath hanging on it, and there's a little basket underneath it, and there seems to be like little cards put in it. A little note taped to it that says "Take one."
I will look and see what they are.
One of the notes when you open it, it says, "May you live to see the sun shine again." And
Sweet.
for the world you live in, no one has seen the sun in almost 1,000 years. So,
Yeah. She'll kind of take it, look at it, sort of like, huh, sweet. And she'll stick it in a pocket, sort of like clocking that, and then she'll knock on the door.
this woman with her hair pulled up in a ponytail, she opens the door. What is? Oh, she kind of looks around, and you see the little boy. He's standing behind her, and he waves. This is a normal thing of him kind of disappearing, apparently. Oh,
Yeah, I will. Hi. Sorry to interrupt. I actually was just talking to your son downstairs, and he was saying he heard noises outside, and with everything going on, I wondered, and because you're on the 3rd floor, it seems like you might have a view. Was there anything that you saw or heard?
She looks back at her son, and she just shakes her head at him. You should know we don't talk to strangers.
I'm with the press. I asked him if he would be able to help.
He
Anonymous,
says
of course.
He says he heard thunder. But so he, much like the stories we talked about, he started counting There's no thunder down here. I didn't hear, but you can kind of hear the sounds of music in the background. She probably didn't hear it if she'd been asleep, because it is real late at night at this point.
Yeah.
Most people would be getting ready to go to bed. I don't know what everyone's going on about.
There was, Emily's picking her words carefully at this point, but she's going to say, there was an accident outside, and a man appears to have been killed. And she's sort of thinking through how much she can and should tell this person, because she doesn't want to like fully freak them out, but she also wants to give them like enough information to be safe. And she's gonna finally settle on, people are looking into it. I would maybe suggest not playing outside for a few days. She sort of, with a glance towards the kid.
And you hear him immediately, I didn't go outside, because
I
his
know.
mother is turning around.
Yeah, I catch that immediately, and I go, no, you didn't, and that was absolutely the right thing to do. So keep doing that, because loud sounds that don't belong in places, probably better not to run towards them.
He kind of smiles. Then I can't be a police officer.
She pins and goes, police are overrated anyway. And yeah, rather than get into that further, she's going to sort of turn back to the and be like, well, I should probably be going. She looks over to where Raphael's still playing with the dog and is like, my friends are waiting for me.
You see her kind of stick her head out too, and she's, the old man let his dog out again. And she kind of, excuse me, as she pushes past us. She goes down a few doors and knocks.
Yeah.
I'd let Pierogi
Yeah,
go.
I said that.
Pierogi.
Yeah. Love it.
You hear this old man yelling for a dog named Ozzy.
Stand up, dust
I think
myself
Elizabeth and I come back downstairs as we see Raphael's new love being ripped away from him by animal nature.
I just go, he made a friend. Completely deadpan.
I can see that. Long story short, we didn't find much up there. It's just good no one was up there, because there could have been some friendly fire.
We didn't get much either.
Pierogi told me the secrets of the universe, I tell you.
Is that your new friend's name?
We'll let it unfold as it goes, yes?
Bless your heart, you are something special.
Sounds like every prophet I've ever heard of.
Yes, it was quite the usual conversation.
Well, looking around at everybody and noting the time, um, didn't that race lady tell us that there's someplace we can go? I look at Emily. You seem to
Yeah,
know it.
I mean, I work there, well, next door, kind of. Yeah. Would I have, like, a key to the archive building or something?
Probably. You'd probably have like a assortment of keys to different doors in the Gazette's buildings.
Oh. I will fish in a pocket and go, I actually have a key, which should make this easier. Let's, yeah?
Well, wouldn't we go to, we found the wallet and everything else, yes?
That's true. And I'll kind of look to the others. We could go to Seven Locks, or we could go back to the Gazette and regroup with the Lightkeeper. It is late.
I don't really know the
But-
protocol for this kind of a gig, so I'm gonna take your guys' lead on this. I'm good to work all night, but if you guys say we need to go to bed,
Oh no, I'm more than willing to stay up and pull an all-nighter figuring this out.
Likewise, knocking on doors at this hour of the night is hit or miss, but I'm certainly not against it per se.
it might be worth it to come back in the morning to knock on more doors. Given what you're getting at. We also didn't knock on any doors in the other building, and I feel like that would have probably been really helpful to do.
We could always
Yeah.
save door knocking for the morning, once people have woken up.
Yeah.
We go check out the address there, and then if we have to circle back around, come back and knock on some doors in the morning.
Just to clarify, though, did the OUP people take the body? Did we see that happen?
Oh, the OUP did not take the body, but some folks from Candela were putting in what I can
Okay.
only describe as a glass coffin to take it away.
Okay. Make sure, because that would just be a really stupid oversight.
Yeah, no sense in leaving dead bodies lying around.
Not with kids. I mean, it was a horrible, horrible scene.
I agree. It was a good thought. You mentioned kids, so he's being a little bit more serious about it all.
So are you all
So
headed
plan?
to Seven Lock?
I guess so.
Lead the way.
Sounds like a plan.
When you get to Seven Lock, to the address on Miles's business card and his identification, the front door is one of those with the fogged glass, and it says Crane Investigation with the address on it. As you approach it, this front door is unlocked and slightly ajar. And that's where we're going to end it for tonight. And I appreciate all of you joining me for the game. We will see you the next time. And everybody watching, like and subscribe, leave a comment. Tell me how many words I mispronounced. Have a good night.